Eagle 95.1 WUPN Paradise, Sault Ste. Marie.
It's time for The Game. Eagle 95.1 proudly brings you The Game, the Twin Sault's only regional and national sports show. For the next hour, we'll get an in-depth look at sports in the Eastern Upper Peninsula and Algoma region and hear from coaches and players involved in The Game. Now, let's join Scott Nason at the Wicked Sister on Ashmun Street in downtown Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, for tonight's broadcast of The Game on Eagle 95.1.
Time to play the game. Time to play the game!
Greetings and salutations, and welcome to The Game on Eagle 95.1 and online at thegamesportshow.com. Scott Nason broadcasting from the Wicked Sister on Ashmun Street on this, well, now snowy Monday night in the Twin Saults. If you're out and about driving around, take a little extra time, getting a little slick out there as we're expected to get a few inches of snow over the next 24 hours. And happy belated Veterans Day to all the veterans past and present, and the Wicked Sister is honoring Veterans Day today with $12 off of any meal that you come here tonight to eat. All they need is proof of ID, so come on down and join us at the Wicked Sister, a very busy place on this Monday night. Our broadcast engineer is Trent Raymond back in the Eagle 95.1 studios. We'll be joined this hour by Dave McCaig from Soo, Ontario, who will get us up to date on the hockey scene as well as the high school football scene in Soo, Ontario. We'll also be joined by Butch Davis from Butch on Sports. Around 6:45 and around 6:30, we'll be joined by Lake Superior State University's athletic director, Dr. David Paitson. But our first guest is here right now, and we're going to get him on right off the bat. Matt Johnson, head coach of the Pickford Panthers varsity boys basketball team, joining us here at the Wicked Sister, a very familiar voice and a friend of mine. Matt, thanks for coming in on this, well, snowy night.
Absolutely. The snow really picked up on the way. It's like in the middle of a blizzard.
I know, right? Well,
I made it.
All depends on where you drive in the UP. I came from Marquette today, and it wasn't snowing at all. I get back to the Soo, and it's starting to snow. Well, Matt, we brought you in for a couple different reasons. First of all, we brought you in to talk about the Pickford Panthers football team. As they were in action on Saturday, I wanted to get the NFL Films background music for On the Frozen Tundra of the Purple Palace on Saturday afternoon, but I didn't get the music, so we'll just go to the action that happened. It was Pickford all over Au Gres Sims in the Division I 8-player semifinal by the score of 50-20 on Saturday afternoon. Just go through the stats here, Matt, before we get your comments on the game. The Panthers rolled out to a 28-0 first quarter lead and never looked back, advancing to their first state final in school history. Quarterback Jimmy Story ran for 138 yards along with 3 touchdowns. He also threw for 111 yards in very tough conditions and a pair of touchdowns. The Panther defense, 3 interceptions. They sacked the quarterback 4 times. Isaiah May had a 65-yard pick 6 for Panthers as the Panthers advance to the title game, which will be played at the Yooper Dome on Saturday, 11 a.m., as they will take on undefeated Morris, who took out Cologne 40-8 in the other semifinal. Matt, I went through the stats. I want to get your comments on the game as the Panthers, after a bit of a scare against Sutton's Bay in the previous round, 48-42. Panthers really got off the blocks on the right foot, and they never looked back. Your thoughts on the game?
Well, It is true. The Sutton's Bay game the week before was a real battle, and it could have went either way. And Sutton's Bay had a real nice quarterback. He threw as good a ball as anyone you'll see. Au Gres Sims was advertised as being a no-huddle spread team that would try and have a fast pace, that they threw the ball a ton. And they had really dominated all their opponents. So given that Sutton's Bay had thrown the ball somewhat successfully against Pickford, and Au Gres Sims was advertised as being better, I think that there was a thought that this Au Gres Sims team might even be a favorite.
Yeah.
I'll say this, the snow came at the right time because it definitely favored the Yoopers here.
Absolutely.
Because Pickford really, they out-hit the team, I'd say that. And the biggest thing, one of my favorite quotes, Bob Knight quote, victory favors the team making the fewest mistakes.
Yeah.
And Au Gres Sims had a punt blocked. They had an interception by Isaiah May there, who returned it for a touchdown. And it was late in the second quarter when Au Gres Sims finally was able to make some stops. But by that point, they were down 4 touchdowns. And Pickford was just very steady. They didn't make the error. And I thought they played terrific defense now. Au Gres Sims, their quarterback, I tell you what, you wouldn't, if you saw them coming off the bus, you wouldn't have picked him as the quarterback. He was about 5'7", more of a lineman's build. Mm-hmm. And they were really hurt by the weather because they were trying to do no huddle, and all of their stuff was out of shotgun. So even a handoff, they'd ride it in the running back's belly and all that. Well, the ball starts to get slick. And I always thought that. I always thought if you're playing in northern Michigan, if you want to win games in November, really anywhere in Michigan, you don't want to have an offense that you can't play in bad weather.
Exactly.
And that's exactly what happened. It was not a close game. At no point did you feel like the game was in jeopardy. It was a solid win for Pickford. And I don't know anything as of now about Morris. I haven't been able to talk to my friends there who are involved in it, who've seen any film. They would have got their film today, I believe. And I haven't heard about Morris. But again, that's a team that has dominated opponents.
Sure.
And I don't think that they've lost.
You look at the game on Saturday, Matt, and, Pickford's been in these games now 3 years in a row. And a lot of these players have been playing in state semifinals 3 years in a row. And a lot of these players have been playing in cold conditions 2-3 years in a row. You look at Au Gres Sims, I believe this is their first semifinal, playing in the thumb. I mean, yeah, they're going to play in some adverse weather, but not to what it was on Saturday. Granted, the snow had stopped for the most part, but obviously the turf was slick. There was wind. And when you have an offense that is one-dimensional and depends on the spread, and that's what's so dangerous about Pickford to me, Matt, is they can come at you so many ways on offense. Obviously, all the intangibles went to the Panthers, including that defense, to hold the team to 20 points. I mean, it was pretty much a dominating performance from start to finish on all sides of the ball.
Yeah, so here's the deal. I think that if the game had been played 3 days earlier, meaning before all the snow
Sure.
and that, I still think Pickford would have won. But I think they'd have won by 3 touchdowns instead of whatever it ended up being.
30 points, yeah.
Yeah. And the reason, the weather just hurt what that team was. I think mentally it got them, too, a little bit early. But I think consistently Pickford would beat that team. And the reason is they had a real short quarterback. And Pickford has some size. If you look at the defensive line, and Eddington 6'7" or 6'8" is a DN. He's a foot taller than the quarterback throwing the ball. So
that helps.
So you almost can't throw in that whole direction because your quarterback's so short and the defensive lineman is so big. So the passing lanes, like when Au Gres Sims could throw it, you saw some glimpses of why they won a lot of games because some things were very impressive. But that's not how football works. If you have a great play and you follow it up with a sack or a fumble or an interception, you don't win games. You do not win that way. And in this case, I just think the strategy and the approach for Pickford benefited them. It might not have as much pizzazz, as some of the offenses. But when you're talking, November snow in the UP, they benefited them.
It's going to be a different story on Saturday, Matt. We do know that the game will be played indoors, as I mentioned, 11 o'clock at the Superior Dome, a.k.a. the Yooper Dome in Marquette, Michigan. Obviously, lots of fans are going to be going from this side of the peninsula. I'll try to be getting there myself. What was the mood at the school today? Obviously, you being a teacher there, you get a pulse of the student body and talk to a lot of these players. I mean, how are they feeling? I mean, they got to be on cloud nine right now, but going into a state final, again, this is somewhere that Pickford has not been before. How's the mood of the players and the team right now?
Well, everyone is very excited, as you can imagine. On Saturday there, after the game ended, I was in the building. I wanted to go in and have a cup of coffee.
A couple of them.
Yeah, it was a bit cold. And, I saw Chuck Benton, and I thought he was the happiest guy in Chippewa
That's fantastic.
County.
He probably is.
Yeah.
Even after that election, he was still doing pretty good?
Yeah, well, so he was excited, and, went to the Sundown, and saw a lot of the folks there in town were excited.
Sure.
And I did think it carried over to today. There's a lot of people planning to go to the fan bus. Here's a great story. We had Veterans Day today. The Veterans Day ceremony today. Mm-hmm. Veterans Day, of course, was yesterday. And a gentleman went up to the principal and said, here's $500 to help pay for any students who need to go on the bus.
Nice.
I mean, this is people are almost tripping over themselves to do things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's terrific. And it sure means a lot to the players. And, I just would say the players just need to be focused on the game and don't get all caught up in the trappings and everything else. You focus on the game because that is the important thing. And I look forward to a great effort. I myself am planning to go up a couple days early.
Yeah.
And it should be a great weekend.
To play in a venue like that, Matt, obviously it's different from a high school football field. Obviously the size and just the scope, not quite to the level of Ford Field for a lot of these teams, but does that play into anything as far as that, or is it pretty much the same for each team? Because I don't think either team has really played there, maybe outside of a high school football all-star game. It's
not the same for each team. It benefits the team that's faster, and it benefits the team that throws more. And I can't give you... I apologize. I wish I came here with more information on Morris, but I don't have it. I will say this. It would have been to Au Gres Sims' benefit to play in the Dome. I think we'd have beat him in the Dome regardless, but it would have benefited them because they're running a spread style, no huddle, and having a slick ball and bad surface is not helpful. Pickford, on the one hand, I think that they're better equipped because they're a more balanced team so they can play in kind of different conditions. Pickford can throw the ball too.
Yeah, they can.
I mean, talking about having a 6'8" receiver, a quarterback who's probably more of a runner than a thrower, but when you have such a big target, you just have to get close.
The only thing I found out, Matt, on Morris was one common opponent, in a way, was Wyoming Tri-Unity Christian. They had beaten Sutton's Bay by 30 points during the regular season, and so you look at Sutton's Bay Pickford, close game again. But that regular season playoff, really the only comparison that I could find, it's going to be a good team because anytime you get to this level, you're playing somebody that's good, and it should be a fantastic state final.
Well, so here's the two keys. I will say this. The first key, when Pickford's on offense and Morris on defense, can they stop Jimmy Story, who's the quarterback, on the quarterback ISOs, the direct snap runs? That would be the bread and butter of the Pickford offense. That is what they used to defeat Sutton's Bay, and it was what they started off with in this game. Quick story. I predicted at the start of the year that Pickford would win all their games.
You did?
It wouldn't be competitive.
On record, GameSportShow.com.
They did not have a competitive regular season game. And don't come at me with Crystal Falls. It was a 3-touchdown
right,
game.
Yeah.
Okay. Here is the issue. When they played Sutton's Bay, when you're blowing teams out that you're better than, you never have to figure out what you're best at.
Yep.
And it ends up being this democratic thing where, well, let's give so-and-so a carry
sure.
and so-and-so a carry and throw to him. And when the stuff gets real, it becomes a meritocracy in a hurry. And you start what do we do best? And it was the second half of that game when they said, okay, time to stop. It's nice giving so-and-so the ball, but let's run the ball. Quarterback straight ahead. He's our best runner. And Suttons Bay couldn't stop it. This other team, this Au Gres team, couldn't stop it. We'll see whether Morris can. If they can, if you can run the ball and you have 5-6 yards a time, you're going to win, and that will bode well for Pickford. The thing on defense, I would say if Morris is a passing team, if they have a real good passing attack, I still think 8-man football is kind of based on arena football, and if in those conditions, if they're a real good passing team, that would be to their advantage. I will say this, because I was a little worried about the pass defense after the Suttons Bay game. Pickford got a heck of a pass rush on Saturday. They really did. And they were in that kid's face. It created turnovers. And if Pickford can get a pass rush like that, they'll win the game.
Matt Johnson joining us on the game. The other semifinal in Division II in 8-player football, Cedarville and Rapid River on snowy Rapid River field. It was Rapid River advancing with a 36-30 victory over Cedarville, who ends their season at 7-5, as Rapid River will advance to take on Onekama in the other final. That one also being played at the Yooper Dome at 2 p.m. on Saturday. So you have a chance to see two UP teams win state championships. And, Matt, I was trying to think of football teams in this area that have won state championships. I believe St. Ignace did once in the 1980s. Other than that, we're kind of looking at new territory, aren't we?
Well, by the way, that division, there should be.
I know how you feel on that.
There should be one tournament with
I
32
agree.
teams.
100% agree.
For some reason, all the 11-man, they have 32 team divisions. And for some reason, they split 8-man into 2 divisions of 16 teams.
Yeah, and how many teams are there overall?
Yeah,
40-something?
Yeah, so you win 3 games, you're in the final.
Right.
Yep. And I would say this. I thought that the top 4 teams in Division 1 would all be the top team in Division 2.
I agree.
Like Rapid River got crushed.
Yeah, they're at, third place in the conference?
So it's a little bit of everyone gets a trophy mentality, and I don't really care for that. What was your original question?
I actually forgot. Actually, we were talking about state championships.
State
St. Ignace, Dan Lasley, who's listening tonight, texted me, says St. Ignace has won 2. Other than that, I know Soo High back in the 50s had kind of won, back before there was a tournament, I believe.
Well, I think it's hard to compare. If you go back to football, I grew up on the West End, and, Norway in the 70s, they'd go undefeated, beat teams all bigger than them in 11-man football, and not make the playoffs.
Right, exactly.
Because it was impossible to do. So then the rules changed, and they went to the 6-3 thing. And then this is, with 8-man, it's a different beast. So it's tough because it's not an apples-to-apples comparison. But, yeah, off the top of my head, I don't know. Did Newberry ever win one?
No, I don't think so. I think it's just St. Ignace. Matt, we're almost out of time. We're going to talk about basketball more here coming up. As the season comes along, obviously you have to wait a little bit to get some of the players into practices. I want a prediction. Saturday. You've been pretty accurate. You've been very accurate, as a matter of fact, on the Pickford football team. I want a prediction, maybe even a score. What do you say?
All right. Prediction. Final score. Pickford 36. Morris 20.
Okay, 36-20. Matt Johnson joining us on the game. Matt, thanks for coming in. Hopefully see you Saturday in Marquette, and we'll talk to you here down the road about high school basketball. I know you're only a couple weeks away from your first games. Thanks for joining us on the game.
Yes, and hopefully they stay healthy. We lost 2 already.
I know. I was thinking that. Matt, thanks for joining us.
We'll see you.
And we'll be back with Mr. Electric Avenue himself, Dave McCaig, joining us on the game here on Eagle 95.1.
Get Wicked Catering from the crew at the Wicked Sister.
We like to think of ourselves as foodies. While our favorite foods are paired with a beer tasting at the Wicked Sister, you can now have the same creative menu for your next catered business luncheon, family get-together, wedding, or holiday party. Our white truffle risotto appeals to your gluten-free and vegetarian guests. Add sautéed shrimp or freshly grilled chicken for a pop of protein. Or let us build you a custom menu to suit your needs. From plated events of 15 to buffets for 200, the Wicked Sister will cater cater your event with tapas, snacks, cravables, or a full sit-down dinner.
The Wicked Sister, where you'll be treated like family, whether you like it or not.
The Game Sports Show would like to thank an additional sponsor and additional home to the Game Sports Show, Sports Center Bar and Grill. Sports Center Bar and Grill, located on 624 Wellington Street West, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Sports Center rated top sports bar for the second year in a row. At Sports Center, enjoy their famous 75-cent wing night along with delicious Molson products on tap, along with a great atmosphere and other great food options available as well. Sports Center Bar and Grill, the Sioux's best sports bar.
Welcome back to the game on Eagle 95.1 and online at thegamesportshow.com. Scott Nason broadcasting from the Wicked Sister on Ashmun Street on this snowy Monday night. I want to thank our guest, Matt Johnson, joining us in the first segment. We'll be joined by Lake Superior State University Athletic Director Dr. David Paitson coming up at 6:30. We'll also be joined by Butch Davis from Butch on Sports around 6:45, and online the full 2-hour show of the game is available. The second hour includes myself, Butch Davis, E.J. Russell expected to join us from Escanaba, Michigan, and this gentleman, host of the Game Sports Show from Soo, Ontario, all-around good guy, expert, and he's even handsome. Dave McCaig joining us on the game. Kegger, how you doing?
Expert.
You love my introduction,
don't you? I love your
intros.
And Brad Kochmilio loves mine. I get the intros from you. But my expertise, Scotty, let's get this straight, comes from you.
Oh,
it comes to the people I'm surrounded by.
Wow.
Mostly you, okay? Let's get that straight. But I'm doing great, Scotty. It's snowing outside, though. Don't like that. Hopefully it ends up melting. I want another month of no snow.
It's not going to happen. Snow's here for good.
You think so?
Get used to it.
I think we got another 2 weeks.
We're broadcasting from the Wicked Sister. Again, happy Veterans Day and Remembrance Day, which was observed yesterday, and the Wicked Sister observing it tonight as they have $12 off of any meal for any active duty or veteran of the armed forces. Just have your proof of ID handy. You can order from their great new items on the menu. Well, Dave, we talked about high school football on this side of the pond, the Pickford Panthers in the state final on Saturday, and over on your side of the pond, or the St. Mary's River, it was the Korah Colts senior team who won the final on Saturday in NOSSA as they ran all over North Bay by the score of 34-11. That game played at Superior Heights. Korah had 448 yards rushing against West Ferris. Nick Gervasi had 182 yards rushing on 21 carries for the Colts, as Korah will now prepare for the OFSAA or OFSA Bowl action as they will play in the National Capital Bowl in Ottawa later this month. They're going to be taking on the champion from the National Capital Secondary School Athletic Association on November 27th at TD Place in Ottawa. Dave, give us some details on a very, very successful season for Korah, which continues throughout November.
See, it's been successful for the entirety of Korah football. You know, the junior team had a big three-peat by winning NOSSA last week. Head coach Jamie Antonello had a good team going on there, and then he is a part of the coaching staff with the senior team in Korah as well. So you have Matt Primo and Jamie, who are actually part of the Game Sports Show with the Sports Center edition, as you can hear on the Wednesday show we have over in Sioux, Canada. But obviously, good friend of the show as well, and listener and head coach Tom Annett, someone I was around when I was in high school for the Sir James Dunn, and
wasn't that long ago.
No, not that long ago, but it was almost a decade ago. So I'm starting to feel like
we won't do the math here. Let's move on.
But Tommy Annett has always been an influential factor in terms of a football organization. I feel Korah really benefited in having him, and that team is absolutely special with Korah. Okay, I've seen very successful teams. I've had friends who are part of very good teams. The Sir James Dunn Eagles, I can tell you, by winning the OFSA there with Max Sullivan, Rob Ramsey, just to name a few guys. But just talking with Jamie today and even Preems through text, everything has just been absolutely excitement. And to go to Ottawa, they're there in a couple weeks, and that game that they played against West Ferris, don't let the score think that Korah absolutely steamrolled them. They worked their rear ends off. Okay, Korah worked very hard, and defensively they were impressive. You had Ethan Fawcett get an 87-yard return on defense. offense. You had Tyler Brecken got 108, I believe. I think it was 108, 105, around that area. Interception return rate from the other end zone. In offense, he was obviously unstoppable as well. Then obviously Gervais running 182 yards, which is absolutely impressive in itself. Wes Ferris has an electric quarterback. I can't remember his name.
You can call somebody that? Isn't that your trademark there, sir?
I see flashes of brilliance there
good.
with him. He was a very mobile quarterback. He plays defense. He plays both sides of the ball. That's a lot like Tyler Brecken does with the Korah Colts, and being in grade 11 with Tyler is. Then he wins junior MVP last year, comes into senior and wins it. It was an exciting football game all around. The conditions were tough.
Yeah.
I will tell you, and Tommy did admit we have some sideline reaction that yours truly caught, and also a couple members of the media in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario.
We're going to put that on the online show later on at thegamesportshow.com.
And then Brad Cochimilio obviously caught a lot there too, and he was even saying that the conditions were tough on West Ferris. He felt that his team adapted more to the conditions, and the running game. Korah was able to utilize the running game. When you have a football game that's snowy, rough conditions, you can agree, and the listeners will agree, that it's tough to throw the football in that situation.
I have tough in any conditions, to be quite honest.
It is. If you run the ball, though, a lot, and you have very good runners that can really get through their defense and really pound those yards down or really break through for a run, it's amazing. Gervais had a 70-yard run or something of sorts in the game. So a lot of plays like that were obviously the turning points. The 2 interceptions and the running by the football from the offense and great play calls. Jamie was up on the booth right near the media where he's calling the shots. You got Tommy Annett, Dustin Grondin, and Matt Primo, who all working together on the sidelines along with the staff of Korah Colts there. They had a very impressive game against West Ferris, and they were going for redemption there. They had redemption. And they had an unsuccessful turnout last year. They wish they could turn it around, and going to Ottawa this year where it's going to be cold. It's going to be very cold in Ottawa. The weather's not going to really change, so they got to adapt those conditions, and great opportunity for Korah to continue the successful season.
Dave, let's move on here. Talk about the Ontario Hockey League. Tough weekend for the Soo Greyhounds on the road.
Yikes.
They were without Matthew Villalta, who got injured in pregame warm-ups a couple weeks ago in a game that we saw at the Memorial Gardens. And the Hounds, well, they did not have a good weekend. They lose to Flint. I repeat, they lose to Flint, a team that hadn't won up until last week. Flint Firebirds defeat the Soo Greyhounds on Friday by the score of 3-1, and then the Hounds go to Saginaw. They did have a comeback in that game. They were down big, but ended up falling by the score of 5-3 to the Saginaw Spirits. So the first real bit of adversity for the Hounds, Dave, who are still in first place in the West Division. Their record 12-5-3-1. They're going to have a big test on Friday night, a game against the league-leading Ottawa 67s at the Memorial Gardens on Friday night. And then they're going to take on always stingy Windsor Sunday afternoon. Hounds, not a good weekend.
Definitely not a good weekend for the Hounds. That's an understatement. And this is no disrespect to Flint, but don't get me wrong. When you've only won 2 games, also, is it 3 now? I think
just 2. I think they lost Saturday.
Okay. Yep. So they only have 2 wins this season, and they have up 16, 17, 18 losses, whatever it may be. You got to look at that. Those are games that are must-wins. Okay, it doesn't matter in what league. You can't underestimate no teams. Don't get me wrong, but there's games where you look back on your calendar and go, oh, dang. Why did we lose that game? And that's one game where the Hounds obviously went in there underestimating their opponent, or give credit where it's due. Flint played a decent hockey game. You can't give them that. It's like when Erie came to town last week and beat them in the shootout. You think that the Hounds are going to steamroll them. It's Villalta's injury. Don't get me wrong. That hurts.
It does.
But
These are young guys that are playing in net. They just picked up a guy from Ottawa or from Oshawa there for a 12th rounder.
Yeah, they know that the situation of Villalta could have been worse. He could have been out for the year if it's another inch deeper. I know that whole situation. I feel extremely bad for the referee because I know him pretty well.
It was an accident.
It is an accident. Yeah. But that's unfortunate, but that's why good teams find ways to win. I don't care about the goalie situation as much as maybe other fans do. I'm not saying that in terms of the injury with Villalta because you wish him the best, but I mean, it doesn't matter who they have in that. They have a goalie who can still stop the puck. And Taylor, they have great players on that team offensively. The top 2 centers in the OHL, in my opinion. Top 2, if not in the top 3 for sure. Then you have defense that they're still one defense away, as we already discussed, but they still have a good D-core. Sam Brook back there. You got Hollowell back there.
I like Hollowell.
You got a good D-core back there. This team, doesn't matter who's in net, you should find ways to win. They should be able to limit teams to 20 shots less a game. And Flint, they obviously went in there underestimated, as I said. It's a bad weekend for the Hounds. And it's not a bad thing that they had a bad weekend. You know what? They've been having a pretty successful year. Okay, 5 losses is not terrible. 12 wins is fantastic. They're still tops in the Western Conference. They got to bounce back. It's going to be a tough weekend. Against Ottawa, that is going to be a tough yet exciting game at the Memorial Gardens. It's one that you're going to be there.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I'll be absent for that game, but it's they got to turn it around, and what better game to do it where you have to turn around and make up for last week against the best team in Ottawa.
Real quick, Dave, the Sioux Eagles in action this weekend. 1 game at home, a very nice win for the Eagles on Friday night against Espanola by the score of 7-0. Caleb Wood had a pair of goals as the Eagles getting some players back from last season, including goaltender Shane Brancato, who had a shutout on Friday, making 34 saves. Eagles will be on the road this week, 3 games at Kirkland Lake on Friday, Powassan on Saturday, and Sunday afternoon against French River, and the Sioux Thunderbirds were also in action. Just 1 game for the T-Birds, and they win in a shootout over Rayside Balfour by the score of 3-2. Nick Smith and Tyler Malpass scored the shootout goals for the Thunderbirds, who are in first place in the West Division, 1 point ahead of the Canadians with 5 games in hand. The Thunderbirds will host Blind River on Thursday and travel to the Beavers on Saturday. And the Sioux Indians were on the road this weekend, traveling to Windsor, Ontario to play the A21 Academy. They dropped a pair of games to that squad before winning against Little Caesars in a shootout yesterday morning. The Indians will host Thunder Bay on Saturday at the Taffy-Able Arena at 6 o'clock and be at the Taffy-Able Arena Sunday morning at 10. Again, against the Thunder Bay. I was hoping it was the Thunder Bay Bombers off of Youngblood with Ratke. Remember that guy?
Oh, my goodness.
Love that guy.
Dean Youngblood.
What a
Great
goon,
movie.
that Ratke guy.
That Ratke guy. The Dean Youngblood beat him up, though.
Well, yeah, I think it was all staged.
That wouldn't happen in real life.
Dave, we're going to have to cut this short as we have our next guest coming up. Again, you can hear more about the Greyhounds, the Sioux Thunderbirds, and Sioux Ontario sports with Dave McCaig on his shows from a couple different locations in Sioux Ontario. You can find those all at thegamesportshow.com. Dave, we're going to let you enjoy some of our tremendous meals here at the Wicked Sister, and we come back. We'll hear from Dr. David Paitson from Lake Superior State University, and you'll join us for the roundtable, for the full roundtable next hour. I'm excited.
It's been a couple weeks I was absent, a couple of vacation days, I like to say, but I'm very excited for that roundtable discussion and for the future guests we have coming on for the rest of this hour.
Absolutely. We'll talk to you here in about 30 minutes, Kegger.
Absolutely.
And we'll be back with Dave Paitson from Lake Superior State University coming up on the game here on Eagle 95.1.
The Wicked Sister, Sioux, Michigan. Check TripAdvisor. Ranked right towards the top. Awarded the Certificate of Excellence, as well as voted #1 pub in the UP. The Wicked Sister has managed to create a casual menu that offers unique, creative, and sometimes healthy offerings that rivals menu selections of any big city. Burgers and starters, snacks and shareables, soups and salads, sandwiches and tapas. On Ashmun Street, Sioux, Michigan. Welcome to the Wicked Sister, where you'll be treated like family, whether you like it or not.
The Game Sports Show is pleased to shout out a partner, additional home, and sponsor to Northern Superior Brewing Company, located on 50 Pym Street in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Northern Superior Brewing Company having a strong presence locally with many beers to offer. With much involvement in the community of Sault Ste. Marie, Northern has a sport and friendly-like atmosphere within its tap room, and during the summer months, it is a must to visit Pier 55 to enjoy some delicious food, amazing view of the water, and view of the Bush Pulling Museum, right on the cusp of the Hub Trail, and of course, all of that down with a delicious brew from Northern Superior. Northern Superior Brewing Company. It's a northern thing.
The Game Sports Show would like to thank an additional sponsor and special edition home to the game, Silver Creek Golf Course, located on 104 Bellow Lake Road, Garden River, Ontario. And also shout out thank you to Silver Creek GM Jamie Henderson. Silver Creek Golf Course has many specials to offer for 18 holes, 9 holes, and even Twilight Deal specials. It does not matter what your level of golf game is, it is a must to enjoy the scenic course, memorable experiences that Silver Golf Course offers. Silver Creek also offers a Thursday wing night for you to enjoy food after a stellar time on the course. You can book your tee time by phone or online at golfsilvercreek.com. Silver Creek Golf Course, where all are welcome to play.
Welcome back to the game on Eagle 95.1 and online at thegamesportshow.com. Scott Nason broadcasting from the Wicked Sister on Ashmun Street on this Monday night as the snow letting up a bit. We've seen some snow squalls throughout the evening, so if you're out and about driving, please take a little extra time to get to your destination. If your destination is the Wicked Sister, well, they have lots going on, including $12 off of meals tonight for any veterans. Proof of ID is required as well. This is your home, post-game home for Lake Superior State University hockey and athletics. And let's get to our next guest. He is the athletic director at Lake Superior State University, Dr. David Paitson, joining us on the game. Dave, thanks for joining us here at the Wicked Sister.
Yeah, glad to be here with you, Scott, at the Wicked Sister, the post-game home of Laker hockey.
Absolutely. And, well, let's start, Dave. Let's kind of go around the winter sports here a bit as the seasons are underway, obviously, for the hockey team after a split against Michigan, a couple tough battles against a very game Alaska squad this weekend at the Taffy Able Arena. The Lakers tie the Friday night game 3-3. They would lose in the shootout, or I should say in the overtime, the 3-on-3 overtime, 4-3. But that game officially goes as a tie.
Right.
And then on Saturday, I actually had a chance to go to the Saturday game. It looked like the Lakers were on their way to victory. They get a 3-0 lead, and Alaska comes back, gets some power play goals, and they win that game by the score of 4-3. So not exactly the way the team, I'm sure, wanted to follow up that Michigan series, but, you know, in the WCHA, it's a tough league, and Lakers were up against a pretty game Alaska squad.
Yeah, they were this weekend, and, when you are desperate for a win, you play pretty hard, and they certainly were, and they did a good job. Our guys got down 3-0 on Friday night, and that looked like that was over, and they battled back and won, which they've done, all year, and done a great job. Saturday night looked like we had it, and again, you got to relax a little bit and, let down just for a second, and they got us, unfortunately. So.
Going back to the Michigan series, I had a chance to go to Saturday's game, and I'll tell you, walking in to the arena, I got there about 15 minutes before game time, and the throng of people, it brought me back to 25 years ago where we would go into the North Center, and you would see just a mass of people waiting to get in. Big crowds, big weekend. From an AD perspective, had to be a big success, I think, Great Lake State weekend overall.
Yeah, I think it was. You have so many events around it. It's always festive, but the right alignment of the planets happened, obviously, with it being Great Lake State weekend, the team being off to a good start, playing Michigan on all those factors kind of coming together. And we had a really good crowd Friday night. The team played extremely well, really kind of took it to Michigan and really more or less dominated the game. And I think that word got out in the street a little bit for Saturday, and a few more extra people showed up on Saturday, and we ran out of seats. So that was a good problem to have.
That's a good problem to have, indeed. Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll take that anytime.
Dave, let's move on here, trying to cover as many sports as we can, talking about the men's and women's basketball teams. The men's team will be traveling to Alaska this weekend to take part in the Seawolves shootout, I believe, taking on Alaska, a team that the Laker hockey team just took on in Alaska Anchorage. And the women's team already underway this weekend down at the crossover tournament. They would fall to Walsh on Friday night by the score of 95-58. And then on Saturday, the Laker women would pick up their first victory of the season as they took out Malone on Saturday by the score of 62-56 as Lexi Cohn had 20 points for the Lakers. They'll be on the road again this week at Ohio Valley on Thursday, and then Alderson Brodus on Saturday. Long road trip. Just give us from an AD perspective the men's and women's basketball teams, their start, and what you expect this season.
Well, I think with the men's, it's been a good team for a long time. We don't expect that to be anything but good. Although there's a lot of freshmen that are going to break the lineup this year, lost some really key players, including one of the best we've ever had here at AK. So it's going to be a little bit of a different look. So we'll see how long it takes them to get into it. But real talented young group in, and I know Steve's got another good class coming behind that. And, a unique opportunity to go out to Alaska to play. It's one of those ones where we have the opportunity to. Some of the tab is picked up for us to go by the host, so that's helpful. And then with the women, just great to see them get that first victory early. We're expecting them to make good strides this year too. I know it took them a little while last year to really kind of get things going before they were starting to see some winning ways in the second half of the year, and they're kind of picking that up and continuing that. They had a really good preseason game against Olivet too.
Yeah.
And they've looked pretty good so far. So great job by both head coaches and their staffs and the players.
And the Laker men's and women's basketball teams will be in action in early December. I believe their first game is December 6th at the Bud Cooper Gymnasium, and a lot more games in January as well. Dave Paitson joining us on the game, athletic director for Lake Superior State University. Dave, let's kind of look at some of the fall sports here. The volleyball season ended there a couple weekends ago, as well as cross country still going on. I believe the regionals are this weekend. Just give us a little snapshot of those two programs right now.
Yeah, I think again Cross had some good placements. David Knitter was all conference, and he'll be one of the folks running this weekend. So we'll have some representation in the NCAAs, and then we have volleyball. Completed the season. They had a couple more wins than last year, but we still felt like there was a lot more progress, and we kind of charted it out after the season. That if you look at the number of 5 set matches, we had 13 this year compared to 1 last year.
Yeah.
So
thing I noticed right away.
Yeah, so they're getting really, really close, and that's with a pretty young team. So I think both programs there, virtually all of them right now are pointed in the right direction. There's good things happening in cross country, a lot of good personal best and so forth this year, both on the men's and women's side. And volleyball, I think we'll see more strides next year. And again, I think some good things out of the 3 teams you've already talked about.
Women's tennis, very successful year, making the GLIACs for the first time, I believe, in 5 years, if I'm not mistaken. 7, yeah. And another program that's on the rise. And you also had your golf programs in the fall. Tell us a little bit about those 2 programs.
Yeah, tennis, women's tennis is really their heavy part of the season's in the fall. They'll have a little bit of a spring season, but it's kind of reversed for the men. Men are more conference seasons in the spring. But they place 3, first team, second team, and third, and honorable mention, all GLIAC performers. Made that first tournament, in a while, and that was kind of that initial goal. For each of our programs, because of where they have been in recent years, we're just looking to make progress and to get us in a competitive place. And that's been happening, and it starts with people you have. And Luke Ogren's done a nice job with tennis, Dave Schmidlin with volleyball, Brandon Locken, women's basketball, and of course Steve Henninger, who's been a good mainstay for the program for a long time.
How do you keep him here? I mean, I honestly think that Division I teams are knocking down his door. He just loves being at Lake State, doesn't he?
He does, and I think he's having fun doing it. He's got good handle on his program and the system. He's got it wired. He's got it figured out. Whatever he's doing, he keeps parading in really good players, and I know he's just got a recruit kind of verbal commitment a week or so ago, and he had another recruit in this weekend. We'll see where that goes, but if he continues to recruit like he is, he's going to continue to win.
Dave Paitson joining us on the game. Dave, you've been here now for a year and change. You made it through another season. Are you at the point right now where you've seen how things are going? You've been able to really take a look at each program. Now is this the time where you can start to maybe try some different things, start to shape it more in how you want it to be, or just give us your thought process on where you are in year 2 here at the beginning of the year?
Yeah, I think, we have a staff that's really kind of a lot more comfortable with where we are in terms of executing, be it the business side of things, sponsorships, ticket operations, game operations, those sort of things are much smoother than they were a year ago. With the teams, in terms of the expectations, we all meet so often, each week as a full staff, so everybody has a good handle of what the goals are and so forth, and what we're trying to get done. And a lot of that's just, again, trying to be competitive and make sure we are a good, solid operation and trying to provide what resources we can, be a big part of the community, where we've got some things going on, here in a couple of weeks with the United Way. We have a Light Up the Lamp promotion with the hockey on November 30th, and we're a big part of the United Way program and other community programs here in Sault Ste. Marie. So that's important for us to be reaching out and and improving student-athlete experiences. Mentoring programs we're starting, and a lot of different programs we're trying to get initiated that will, kind of set us apart from, from other programs and be unique in that respect.
Final question for you, Dave. You made a heck of a find in men's and women's basketball athletic training this year, getting this girl to my left, Becky, on board. Yes. She's done a great job so far.
She has, and she's grabbed a hold of the basketball program. The Natalie and John entrusted her enough to put her in charge of the two sports. So that's a big responsibility, and she's done a great job. She's obviously done a good job in the student training before, and we were really actually very fortunate to be able to get her to be here with us this year.
Very good. Dr. David Paitson joining us on the game. Dave, thanks for coming in again. You are welcome to come in as much as you want to get us up to date on Lake Superior State Athletics. We love having our partnership once again this season and look forward to seeing you at the game and talking more about the Lakers on the game. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, and we'll be back with Butch Davis from Butch on Sports up next on the game here on Eagle 95.1.
Get wicked at Wicked Sister. You'll find the best tasting food for you and your family. Start off with some wicked appetizers like the crab dip, served with soft pretzel bites and warm non-bread strips, and delicious boneless chicken wings that are antibiotic and hormone free with 5 choices of sauces. Try the barbecue pulled pork sandwich or the #1 selling drunken cow burger and the chicken caprese flatbread. Check out the Wicked Sister gluten-free menu and catering. The Wicked Sister, downtown Ashmun Street, 7 days a week.
The Game Sports Show would like to thank a list of additional sponsors. North Shore Sports and Auto, new location located on 647 McDonald Avenue, Sault Ste. Marie. A family-owned and operated business with doing business in Sault Ste. Marie for over 10 years. Loads of products available for your enjoyment for all seasons. North Shore Sports and Auto, we understand the importance of quality service and products, and we work hard to ensure that all customers have a positive experience before and after each and every sale. North Shore Sports and Auto, meeting all of your new and pre-owned equipment needs. Special thanks to Salon. The Salon, located on 589 2nd Line East, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Owned and operated by Mike Cuglietta. Book your appointment today at 705-941-9191 or via online at https://thesalonsoo.as.me-. The Salon, making the Sioux beautiful, one haircut at a time. As well as a shout out to the Sioux Pee Wee Pro Shop. The Sioux Pee Wee Pro Shop, located inside the Community First Credit Union Sioux Pee Wee Arena on 285 Northern Avenue East, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Owned and operated by Jeremy Paquin and ran by Larry Monroe. Sioux Pee Wee Pro Shop, for over 40 years, meet all of your skate sharpening, skate repair, and hockey needs. Also to Discover the Canvas. Discover the Canvas, located on 317 Wellington Street West, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. A beautiful, new renovated building owned and operated by expert artist and Sioux native Katrina Thibodeau. Katrina taking her talents of the ink in Sault Ste. Marie and truly creating the best and most realistic art locally. Call Katrina today at 705-450-8099 or email her at discoverthecanvas@gmail.com to book your tattoo or consultation today.
Welcome back to the game on Eagle 95.1 and online at thegamesportshow.com. Scott Nason broadcasting from the Wicked Sister on Ashmun Street on this Monday night, the day after Veterans Day, and the Wicked Sister celebrating veterans on both sides of the border with a $12 off meal tonight. All they need is proof of ID, as they have many new menu items here as well, along with CBS on tap. Want to thank our guests so far tonight. Matt Johnson talking about Pickford football. Want to thank Dave McCaig from Sioux, Ontario, who will join us again in the second hour, the roundtable portion of the game, which you can find online at thegamesportshow.com. And joining us right now, Butch Davis from Butch on Sports, which you can hear on this podcast page as well as his page, Simply Butch 2. That's to.podomatic.com. Butch joins us each and every week to talk about what's going on in the Metro Detroit sports world. Butch, how you doing on this Monday night, my friend?
You know how I'm doing here. A long week here, my friend. I'm glad to be with you guys and get Before I get started here, happy Veterans Day, belated Veterans Day, extended Veterans Day to all the veterans who serve, including you, Scott, Nason, and everyone who's listening Radio Land and online on our show here.
Butch, I appreciate that, and it's very good to have you here tonight. I know you had a bit of a rough week last week health-wise, but you're rip-raring to go tonight to talk about our beloved Detroit Lions. As the Lions fall to 3-6 as Mitchell Trubisky scored a career-high 355 yards and 3 touchdowns, as the Chicago Bears scored touchdowns on their first 4 drives, and the best defense was managed by the goalposts on Sunday as uprights blocked 4 kicks from Chicago's kicker, but the Lions were overmatched again, losing by the score of 34-22. The Lions now 3-6 on the season. The playoff hope's pretty much done, and they'll host Carolina on Sunday. Butch, this team was 9-7 last year under head coach Jim Caldwell. Things are not good right now. Your thoughts on the Lions and just another, I'll just say it, an embarrassment.
Embarrassment indeed here. They only lost 6 games, so they're not out of the playoffs as of yet here. Funkier things have happened here, but, you know, the way we're looking at things right now here is it's crappy. To answer your question there, I kind of asked myself, how much of the responsibility is Bob Quinn taking for all these mishaps here with the Detroit Lions this year? He went out and got a new coach this year, Matt Patricia there. Although the cleanup started 3 years ago when they brought him in here, he did some things. He maybe not delayed in letting go a coach, which was Jim Caldwell there. And again, we have what we have right now, just a messy mess here, okay? A messy mess indeed here. So in order...
That Bob Quinn?
No, that's my brother on here trying to talk here. Let's get him on the phone here, huh? You know? He's good for something. Hey, Mike. I'm on radio right now here. You got anything to say to Radio Land?
Live radio. You got to love this.
Okay, I'll call you right back. All righty. Okay, Michael Davis, boys and girls here.
Making his UPN debut.
Yeah, right.
Butch, you said it about Bob Quinn. I mean, you know, he's getting these guys in. You know, you look at this offensive line, one that was supposed to be improved for the Detroit Lions, and again, they allow, I think, 6 sacks against Matthew Stafford. And this team, I guess the biggest question is, how can they come out in both these games and just look totally unprepared? I mean, I don't think there's any way you can describe it as fact that they just were not prepared to play another division game on the road this Sunday.
Not prepared, not taking responsibility here. You know, you look at the offensive coach there and what he's doing there, and it's no secret. He's not going to be here next year. There's no secret of the defensive backs there who really made a mess of things here. And I've been mentioning it all year, but the backs has to be in status quo, good guidance in order for this team to do anything. And it hasn't, okay? You got a back who ran 14 times for 51 yards there. He should have been running more there. There is no commitment to run the ball. There is no commitment to throw in the middle of the field. There is no commitment to stop players and play a lot more aggressively on defense. There is no commitment there. And when you have those non-commitments there, you have a lot of mess, a big fat mess there. Lions been getting off not getting off at all here. Early in the game, they're just getting ran over like a freight train here, and now they got to play catch up, only to get their brains beat in the latter part of the games here. Some responsibility has to be held there, and maybe the Lions right now saying, "Hey, look, let things fall where they lie here." Right now, they look like they're unofficially tanking here, and that's what I'll call it here, because again, there's no reason why you don't make some changes in some places where there has to be changes in. Your offensive coordinator there, he stinks right now. Okay, it's just that's uncommittable there. Matthew Stafford, he stinks right now. Okay, it's nothing being done about it there. You hear the same old garbage every single week. We. I want to hear Matthew Stafford say I. Okay, I take responsibility. I want to say Matt Patricia, I take responsibility. I want Bob Quinn just to come out and say, I'm sorry for the citizens of the state of Michigan and our Lions fans. I take responsibility, okay? I want to hear that, okay? And until I hear that, we have some non-committal people they need some more cleaning up to do. And the bad part about it is majority of those players that we see right now, they're not going to be here next year, okay? They got their millions of dollars or whatever it may be. They're going to pick a place where they can think they can win a championship or ease down to the sunset, and that's about all. Lions are in bad shape right now. They're going to play a Carolina team that's licking their chops right now here and coming into somebody else's place and ready to do business. I just hope and pray that they can do a better job than what they're doing right now.
Butch, if you're there Sunday in the postgame, make sure you got good posture in the postgame press conference. That's all I got to say.
I will slap the taste out of that guy's mouth every come. As much as I've been through this week here, doggone, call a popos too.
Butch, let's get on to happier thoughts. Let's talk about the Detroit Red Wings, a team that was at one point 1-7-2 on the season. The Wings, another good week, a great week. They've won 6 of 7, winning at Carolina Saturday night by the score of 4-3 in a shootout. Jonathan Bernier made a career-best 49 saves as the Wings will be at home on Tuesday against Arizona, travel to Ottawa on Thursday, and then at New Jersey on Saturday. All games, winnable games. This Wings team starting to turn it around.
Turn it around indeed, because I said earlier that there's really no reason to fret for this particular younger team. This team has some energy when they build their stamina up and be ready to play and get in there and just start grinding, okay? Grinding the games in there. They can have a whole heck of a lot of things going on there. Many of the games, the last 3 games, coming from behind. We haven't seen that in a while here with any Red Wing team, but these young kids, again, some stamina. Again, the Coming to Jesus meeting was when they played Carolina. Sometimes back, no, not Carolina, maybe the Blue Jackets, I should say there. Yeah. And after that, everything went buns up from that point on there, and everything's been looking very good. They're going out there, they're playing, they're wrecking people's hearts apart. The young kids are putting in a great effort there. And again, we're seeing some kids right now from Grand Rapids who want to come up here and make contributions. So they're making it very hard and very difficult for the kids down here in Detroit, per se, to not to get off their edge right now here, and that equals out to some nice, great hockey. Fans are turning up; they're appreciating the hockey that they're playing right now. We need to see a lot more of it, and hopefully, again, they've come a long way from where they was, I say 2-3 weeks ago. So we can just root them on, and hopefully things get better and not worse.
Which, let's move on to the Detroit Pistons. A better week overall after losing 4 straight going into this week. The Pistons go 2-1. They did fall yesterday at Little Caesars Arena by the score of 113-103 to Charlotte as well. Tony Parker, he's beaten the Pistons a few times in his career. He scored 24 points off the bench as the Pistons now 6-6 on the season, and they only have 1 game this week, kind of a rare 1-game week. They're going to be at the very good Toronto Raptors on Wednesday. Butch, Pistons better week, but still a lot of work to do.
A lot of work to do, indeed. You saw the game yesterday. That was a tragedy at its very best for referees and officials in the NBA there. That was a joke. Blake Griffin got his rear end kicked into a no-not-one, and nothing has been said. He's going to be fined for getting kicked out the game for that progression. There's a type of foul that he gave on one of the players on the team there. And I'm quite sure he's going to get fined, but suspension, I don't see that. But again, the officials right now in the NBA, they need to really, New York needs to have some conversations here, because there's some players who are getting their rear ends kicked into a no-not-one. Blake Griffin, again, he's been getting kicked around all season long, and no calls are going for him. And I'm not saying that Blake Griffin is justified for what he did yesterday in that game, but he got to get somebody's attention that he's trying to get his rear end kicked on in. And you can only go so far. You, Scott, I, or anybody else in there, Mojo, okay? If you're going to keep on getting your rear end kicked, you're going to fight back, okay? And Blake did that. Again, the circumstances was not very good. But again, the Pistons, need to get some attention to the officials in the NBA and get some things straightened out there. That was a joke. And not to make up for the difference, the Pistons guards, again, need to do a better job of shooting there. Their progression of shooting, the shot, the two-pointer. How about shooting some two-pointers there? Stop going out for the threes and whatnot there. How about shooting some shots that you're comfortable with and keeping the team in the game instead of getting the team behind? They're leaning too much on the three-pointer. They're not a three-point team at this present time. And they got to get that together quick there. That's a coaching mistake. That's a coaching view. And hopefully that gets taken care of sooner than later.
Butch, we got about 2 minutes on hour one. Butch will join us in hour two for the roundtable along with Dave McCaig here from the Wicked Sister, which you can find on thegamesportshow.com. Butch, we talked about the Pickford Panthers here locally in Division I in 8-player football going to the state final in Marquette on Saturday, a game I hope to attend. Give us a little snapshot on some of the teams still alive in your neck of the woods in the semifinals, which are coming up this weekend in 11-player football.
A lot of goodies here. A lot of goodies indeed for all the divisions. Particularly there, the semifinals are going to be hot and heavy there. I do see some teams, Bellevue, out from this way. It's going to be in Division I, Division II. You see Birmingham Grove's going to be dealing with it. Warren De La Salle going to be dealing with it. Division III, of course, the Detroit Martin Luther King will be against DeWitt there in Brighton. That's going to be a good game. That's going to be a Saturday game per se there. A lot of good stuff going on here. And also, you know, we cannot be omit to say that this is the week for the volleyball championship going on here in the state of Michigan. So we got to look at that per se and give some to do on that particular comment there. What else did I have up here, popped up here? Oops, I lost my screen. But anyway, here, a lot of high school stuff going on there, final week there, plus that 8-player that you're going to be up there with Pickford this week up there at Lake Superior there. So in the Dome, you'll be nice and warm and toasty if it snows and everything here.
We need it up here, Butch.
Oh, really? No one needs to snow.
Butch Davis joining us on the game. Again, you can find his broadcast of Butch on Sports at Simply Butch2. That's TOO.podomatic.com or on thegamesportshow.com. Butch, hang tight for a few minutes. You're going to be rejoining us in hour two for the roundtable. Thanks for joining us here in hour one. We'll talk to you here in a few minutes.
Okay.
And want to thank our guest tonight, Matt Johnson from Pickford, talking about the Pickford Panthers state championship game on Saturday. We also want to thank Dr. David Paitson, Lake Superior State University Athletic Director, along with Dave McCaig from Soo, Ontario, who will rejoin us in hour two. Want to thank our broadcast engineer tonight, Trent Raymond, back in the Eagle 95.1 studios. And want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in. Don't forget, you can hear this hour and the full 2-hour show of the game on the podcast page, thegamesportshow.com. For those online, stick with us for hour two. For those on the radio, we'll get back to more classic hits at random on Eagle 95.1.
Time to play the game. Time to play the game. It's all about the game and how you play it. All about control, and if you can take it, all about your debt. And if you can pay it, it's all about pain. And who's gonna make it?
Welcome back to the game on Eagle 95.1 and online at thegamesportshow.com. Scott Nason broadcasting from the Wicked Sister on Ashmun Street, hour two of the 2-hour extravaganza we hold on Monday nights. We are continued to be joined by Butch Davis from the Metro Detroit area from Butch on Sports, and joined once again here at the Wicked Sister by Dave McCaig, host of the Game Sports Show from Sports Center Bar and Grill in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, and Northern Superior Brewing, also in Soo, Ontario. As this is the portion of the show, gentlemen, where we banter about the world of sports. E.J. Russell, unfortunately, stuck at work, could not join us tonight, but he wanted to say hello to everyone. Hopefully we'll get E.J. on our next show. So, Dave, I will give you the first topic on tonight's roundtable. Butch, I'll give you first crack at Dave's topic. Mr. Electric Avenue, What would you like to talk about on tonight's roundtable, sir?
I will add to that great introduction as always, Scott.
Thank you.
I always think of your introductions and I just mantle myself off you. But there'll be another home to the game in Sault, Ontario for Icebreakers Lounge upstairs
What?
at the John Rhodes. Yeah.
Oh my goodness sakes.
Carrying the beer when it comes out.
Okay.
That's a little hint. But anyways, besides that point,
wow.
They'll be carrying. We'll be doing special edition shows there just for.
So we could be there for like when the Eagles play the Thunderbirds.
Exactly.
Oh, that's fantastic.
They're going to be for Thunderbird. Well, I call it this bonus edition for Thunderbirds and Hounds.
Sure.
For extra shows for live interviews or for coverage of Thunderbird games, but definitely because of the NOJ troubles around that. So we'll be there on weekends. That's how we're going to do special edition uploads, just like we do for our sideline uploads. So we'll be adding another home to that, even though we already have lots of homes. Like to go around and buy different real estate here on the Game Sports Show, obviously. So for a topic, though, Scotty, I want to go to the side of a random topic which involves hockey but also involves all sport.
Okay.
I want to go around the topic of when you're a good hockey team compared to being a bad hockey team or an average hockey team. Going into each game night in and night out and underestimating opponents, which really ties to my first hour with yourself, Scott, with the Sault Ste. Greyhounds against Flint.
And I think the Laker hockey team as well against an Alaska team that hadn't won.
Yeah, we can bring up a topic that's random here that is outside my realm where we could kind of talk about how teams go into action when you're a top team. You underestimate opponents, how that truly affects a team, and how the true quote that says good teams find ways to win, and how that really mantles in sports. You know what? Let's go around and have a little discussion about that. How about that?
I like it, Dave. Butch, we're going to go to you first. Dave's topic, your thoughts.
That's a good one. That's a very good one. That reminds me of the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys last night there.
Yeah.
The Dallas Cowboys found a way to win. Okay, and the Philadelphia Eagles caught up like the Detroit Lions and didn't get it done. And I said this early this year that, not on this show per se, but the Eagles are not going to be the same as they were last year. Dallas is going to get better. And then that kind of floats into the Detroit Lions discussion we had earlier this evening, that the good teams seem to get better and have control over it. You look at Pittsburgh, okay, with the problems they're having with Levy and Bell, okay? When, the Rooney speak, everybody listens. Jerry Jones, when he speaks, everybody listens. Everybody's on page. When the Gillette speak, everybody listens. Everybody's on page. And these teams seem to have problems every single year with something. But yet and still, they find a way to get it together and win. The Ravens is another team that does a fantastic job. Cleveland, with Mr. Dorsey running the place now, will be a better team if they listen to the man instead of listening to the top. But in the end, we look at the Lions per se there. It's the same old garbage every year that basically, as long as they're making the money and giving away free beer or 50-cent beer or whatever it may be, people think that everyone's happy, and they're not, okay? Keeping somebody cheap or playing someone's cheap, it's thoroughly not advisable here. And I look at the hockey since like last year when we looked at Las Vegas. Everyone, including yours truly, knew that they would be a last place team. Didn't happen that way here, okay? Everybody got the shock of their lifetime. Now everything's getting back to normal per se with the standards that they are this year. And we look at the Kings, who we thought there would be a better team. They're not, okay? But again, they're doing things to improve the situation and not make the situation worse, okay? We kind of look at, I think I hit on it earlier tonight. You look at the top of the branch, and those particular people at the top of the branch got to take responsibility. Mark Davis of the Oakland Raiders said it best. He's responsible for everything that Oakland right now is doing wrong. Okay? He's taking responsibility for it. And you can appreciate that because the people below you now has a better sense of knowing how they can contribute or maybe how they can come on in there with conversation and make the team a lot better instead of a lot worse. How they can point out certain players who are not giving their all, who shouldn't be there, but yet still they're getting premium money like Matthew Stafford, okay? It's a hard nut to swallow, okay? But again, I think it all starts at the top and the culture that you break out to them, if it's via hockey or basketball or football or baseball, it's the culture there. And that top ring, and I've named some people in regards who are very well respected. The Lake Superior is another one, okay? Gentlemen tonight laid it on the line. We got a young team, but again, we're growing from what it may be. And he doesn't forget to talk about the people who are making it easy for him. That makes a lot of conversation right now and a lot of communication very different as far as improving rather than failing right now. We don't see that with a lot of teams, especially our pro teams in Detroit.
Great answer, Butch. Great topic, Dave. Butch, I'm going to piggyback on a lot of what you said and kind of bring it to a little bit of a more local level here to Dave's question. I agree 100% with what Butch said as far as, it's something that the top of the organization needs to own as far as the professional sports teams. I think it's more important for a coach to motivate his players more on a collegiate, junior hockey, high school level, because we saw both instances, Dave, with the hockey teams that we follow this weekend, with the Soo Greyhounds going on the road, taking on a couple teams that they probably should beat talent-wise, and not being able to do so. Now, granted, it's a long season, there's ups and downs, but when you take on a team like Flint, who hadn't won any game until last week, taking on a Hounds team which has several draft picks in the NHL and a lot of success, you're looking at a coach and maybe something to get the players a little more motivated. I look at the Laker hockey team coming out of a very emotional big weekend against Michigan and taking on an Alaska team that hadn't won a game. Now, it's kind of natural, I think, for an athlete maybe to not be as revved up in front of 1,000, 1,500 fans against a team that hadn't won, rather than a full house against a Big Ten team like Michigan. But again, that's where coaching comes in. It's up to the coach to get his team prepared and motivated for those type of games. I look at Laker basketball with head coach Steve Henninga, and, they play a lot of teams that maybe aren't quite to the level as the Lakers in men's basketball, but you don't see a lot of letdowns with his team because he's built a system. He's built an organization, and he's built a winning culture. And that's, I think, the biggest key to everything is creating a culture of winning. New England Patriots, they have a culture of winning. Granted, they didn't look good yesterday against Tennessee, but they have a culture of winning. That's the thing the Lions do not have, is a culture of winning. When you won one playoff game, which will soon be 61 years, it's tough to get that culture going. But as professional athletes, going back to your question, your job is to prepare yourself the best that you can for every game, every situation. It's much like when I go to work, or when you go to work, or when Becky goes to work, or when anybody goes to work around here. You're expected to do your best and be prepared for any situation. And to have certain instances of teams that we follow, the Lions, for example, the last couple weeks, looking totally unprepared and overmatched in a contest where the talent on the field maybe isn't that much of a disparity as much as it is the organization, the preparation, and the winning culture. I think all those things combine into, what makes a winning team and what makes a losing team. But again, to kind of recap, I think at the lower levels, high school, junior hockey, collegiate athletics, the coach is more responsible, in my opinion, for getting his players motivated. Professional athletes shouldn't need that motivation from the coach. They just shouldn't. But the coach and the ownership needs to take ownership when those players do not perform, because it's a business and you're there to make money. And you see a lot of franchises not win a lot of games, but the fans keep coming and keep coming and keep coming, like the Detroit Lions, year in and year out. So that's, I guess, a all over the place answer, but I hope I answered a little bit of your question. Dave.
You did.
Look at Butch and I. We're sounding like Dave McCaig getting all long-winded on this. Great topic.
The Detroit Lions, I feel bad for you. Obviously, you're a little upset.
Yeah, we're used to it.
It's all right. I apologize for your sake. But, times do get better sometimes. Look at
they don't. They don't.
They don't? Okay. I will say you brought up a good point, Scotty, and Butch, obviously, you brought up a lot of good points as well. But it comes down, and when it comes to depending of the rankings of this particular sport, where I do blame the coach for, and I'm not talking Greyhounds here, so I'm going to pump the brakes on that, but I'm saying in general, you do blame the coach of a team that's superiority to another team about a loss. I do agree to that. I'm also a fan, though, of the head honcho of the team, the captain, the face of that team, right? That I always been a believer, and I was told once myself when I played hockey, believe it or not, and I've also seen our players get told this. So obviously, it's from Arthur Rutland said it, a friend of mine's father who's a legend in hockey in Wawa, which is a small town in Ontario, if anyone knows what Wawa is.
The Wawa Travelers, former Junior B.
There you go. It's, when you're a good player, you create the domino effect for your team. Now, that can stem depending on the sport. If you have a goaltender who's like, you're playing men's league, your goalie is the focal point because no one else cares and they're drinking beers. But if you're playing a professional junior game or any kind of such, you're looking at that head honcho. Look at the person who's going to be that defining guy, that's going to be the guy that you choose in any situation who's going to play 100% for you at all times. You look at the Greyhounds, I think the domino falls from Barrett Hayden. Okay, I really think it does. I know you can look at Frost and you can even look at Hollowell, but I'm sorry, it's definitely Barrett Hayden. When you look at the Sioux Thunderbirds, I look at Lucas Terrio. Okay, when you look at the Toronto Maple Leafs, if you want to go to the professional level, because you have a good point, the professional level you should be good anyways. You go to the Maple Leafs, I still do look at Austin Matthews over John Tavares right now, because that's just the guy. There's guys that create the domino effect of how a team plays. Toronto, you could argue Frederik Andersen. You can argue a lot of things in professional sports why it's not fair, but when you go back to junior, when you go back to even the high school basketball, or high school football, let's go Korah Colts, Tyler Brecken. Okay, Tyler Brecken, MVP for a reason. The kid's a stud. So, Nick Gervais and Ethan Fawcett, then you got Fawcett on D making big runs, but at the end of the day, it's still a point of that one person who makes that domino effect. If you're that guy who can go out there and step up the game, people are going to follow you. You go by that bench when you get that goal, to get that touchdown, get that big three, whatever it may be, get that home run. You pump up that bench, they're going to feed off behind you. And as soon as you're the guy that gets negative, if you're the guy that gets upset, then that whole team is going to follow. It creates that culture on the bench. But then that's when I feel the coach has to step in. If your big guy is not creating that atmosphere and that positive attitude in the room, because the coach isn't around 24/7. They're not in the room 24/7. It's the leaders, it's the captain, it's the assistant captains, but mainly the captain who you trust in your room for when you're not there to lead that team. That's hockey, baseball, or anything of such. So in terms of sport, good teams find ways to win. It all starts, yes, with the coach, but I think it does more with the leader of the team or the captain, and that's in terms of more of junior sports or minor league level sports. Professional level, you got 16, 18, 21, 22, whatever guys playing. Those are the guys that create that domino effect. But in our topic here with the relationship talking about amateur sports, it's that, not just the coach. It's got to be that leader on the team.
Great topic, Dave. Butch, any final thoughts on this topic? And then we'll go to your topic on the roundtable.
It's agreeable. That leader on the team means so much. He can take the team sailing to good tiding, or your boat can sink. Okay, for bad leadership there. And again, and I'll reiterate with Dave, the coaches are not there 110% of the time. Okay, they may be 4 or 5 hours out of the day, and maybe you're lucky, they might be one of your teachers in school. Okay, so with that saying, the parents also, and I'll repeat that, the parents also has to take a portion of the responsibility of bringing some, not so much of madness there or winning or what it may be, but some sensibility and thought that you guys are living together for maybe 8-9 months, okay? You got to be able to get along. You got to be able to communicate. You got to be able to help one another out there. And the organizations to bring that in there. That's why so many good organizations have alumni teams and whatnot there, alumni parents and whatever it may be, to help with that particular situation. Those organizations stay good for a very long time.
Butch, let's get to your topic. I will take first crack. What do you got to bring to the roundtable tonight, sir?
The delicious beef stew that I'm eating right now here. I'm eating all day. A lot of stuff been going on with the legal side. The Jimmy Butler situation. Is it true that maybe players now feel that they got more power in dictating what they want to do? The Le'Veon Bell, we got into tomorrow until we find out that particular situation. Is it true that players now have more power to make a team better or to wreck a team apart?
Well, Butch, I think with Jimmy Butler, it indeed does. I think with Le'Veon Bell, it indeed does. Dave just mentioned Mr. Nylander, dictating the terms of where he wants to go, and we're seeing a bit of a trend here in professional sports. Gone are the days, I know one that Dave McCaig looks back on fondly, of the players like Steve Yzerman, who played his entire career in one location. Baseball had a lot of those guys. And there was a thing of loyalty, something Dave, I know, is a very big part of, or a very big fan of, I should say. But I think the players do have more say to what's going on. Jimmy Butler going to the Philadelphia 76ers, as he dictated that he was only going to go to certain teams. So, Dave, I don't have too much to say on this other than I agree 100% on what Butch says. We're seeing this as a trend as far as players not wanting to go. I go back to before your day, Dave, locally here, the drafting of Eric Lindros from the Soo Greyhounds. He was the number one pick back in, I don't know what year it was, 1988, 89, and he refused to come up to play for the Soo Greyhounds. The Greyhounds had to end up not getting him, and it ended up working out for the Greyhounds.
He did that in the NHL, too.
Yeah, exactly. And the Greyhounds got a bunch of draft picks for Lindros, and they ended up beating him in the Ontario Hockey League finals a few years later. But, that was one instance of a while ago. But you see that more and more in sports right now. Players saying, I want to go here, I don't want to go here, this is what I want to do. Your thoughts?
Sad thing is, and Butch brought up Le'Veon Bell, and we talk about William Nylander. Two of the teams that we brought up are two teams that I follow, and it seems like it's all I'm around in sports with the Steelers and with the Maple Leafs. So I'm gonna say right now it is sad. I'm gonna go in and say that where were the bleeping days? That bleep is a swear.
Yep. Can't do that yet on the show.
No. Well, Monday edition. No, Thursday. We kind of let some things Wednesday, but that's besides.
We don't do that here.
No. But jokes aside, you where did those days go where you had just the passion and the love for the game? Doesn't matter where the heck you played. Sure. If I'm a Leaf fan, if I made the NHL, where do you think I want to play? Let's get real.
Arizona.
Yeah, sure. It's hot there. But, I would play somewhere was the best fit for myself and also think of just loving the game. I remember when I signed on a card, I had a choice to sign between Blind River and the Sioux Thunderbirds. I signed in Blind River because it was a better fit. I played first line there for 4 months. Thunderbirds won that year, the Dudley Hewitt Cup.
Sure.
You know what? That would have been nice to win a Dudley Hewitt Cup or win a title, but you know what? I would have been maybe a fourth line guy, maybe a third line guy. So now, this is professional sports. Let's veer to professional sports. If I had a contract laid out for me, I got Toronto who gave me $5 million, I got Arizona that gives me $4 million, and I got Edmonton that gave me $4.9 million. If I'm looking at the team, I'm saying, okay, what's the best fit for me? Because what makes the best fit for you is what's going to create your legacy. If you go to the best team that you think is a good fit for you, where you're going to have the most success, you're going to have success, you're going to have fun there, you can be a leader on that team, which, as I talked about in my previous topic, you can help players around you get better, then maybe you do well enough where your team wins those big games, you get into a certain seeding, then hey, you make the playoffs, maybe you win the cup, then your legacy's cemented. Then when you're at the ender parts of your career, you sign somewhere and play somewhere where you want to. Now, Le'Veon Bell, I'm not too mad at Le'Veon, to be honest with you. I think he's deserving. He's one of the, if not the best running backs in the league. I kind of wish he would have just shut up and played this year, though, because of how far this has went. But one player in particular, William Nylander, has got to grow up here a little bit. I'm starting to get a little bit fed up because it's not even him. I'm not even mad at Dubas. Dubas is staying on 6. Apparently, Nylander's staying at 8. Why can't Nylander say, okay, fine, I'll sign a 2-year deal, $6.5 million. I'll go get 80 points a year, and I'll walk when I become a free agent. Why not say, you know what? I want to stick it to these guys. I want to win a cup in Toronto. Not only win a cup, I want to be their top scorer. Where does that motivation and that die-hard saying, I love playing the game. I'll play wherever is best fit for me, my family, and just for me to play hockey or me to play football, me to play basketball, baseball, whatever it may be. And players, at the end of the day, nowadays, don't get to follow that. They get to say, hey, look, I got 75 points last year. Bob Joe got $7 million this year. I got 10 more points he did this year. I'm worth $500,000 more than he is because I got 20 more goals. No, whatever happened to saying, you know what, I just want to play the game. So players do dictate. It is sad. I don't think Le'Veon Bell has that much. I know he wants what he wants, but I think it's a little bit different with Le'Veon Bell. Nylander or certain guys as such is a different ball game because I feel it's just different than the NFL, so each league is different. But sadly, players can dictate. It makes the game not as enjoyable for fans. Look at DeMarcus Cousins. Took a $2.5 million with Golden State. Apparently, he had an offer for $12 million somewhere. He says he didn't, but then things are leaking. You don't think he said, I could have played for $12 million. I'm just going to go win a ring. Now, people look at him and say, did he dictate where he want to go? Absolutely. But guess what? He's a free agent. Yeah. So he gets to choose where he goes. At least he didn't say to the Pelicans, or at least, I think from the Kings, I don't know if he requested a trade or not, but I know someone might correct me with that. But I think at least he played out that season in New Orleans. When you had Vince Carter play with the Raptors, he did demand a trade, but he played there and stuck it out through grueling years. And same as Chris Bosh. They played because they loved the game, and then they moved on when they had to. So, yeah, then my point, they do dictate, and it is very unfortunate.
Great answer, great topic. Butch, your comments on your own topic, sir?
Oh, boy, it's the Nylander situation, you kind of wish he can be traded to China and join Jimmy Pavette or something, with the 75 points and whatnot there, and let them have at it here. But, it's not going to happen, okay? This guy's going to whine, and there's no solution that can be dealt with. The bad portion about it is the team suffers for all of this because the attitude or maybe the attention that the team should be getting in other places there is all down on this one guy here who's being selfish, okay? So how do you get rid of the selfishness? We don't know. I think, again, that's up to the owners, per se, there to kind of draw a line of what you can and cannot do for a team that I own and the culture that's going to be raised here. If you can't get it with it, get out of here. I was in a situation when I came out of high school. University of Michigan was one of those schools that looked at me as in playing football, okay? Bo Schembechler was amazing to me, okay? Going through the campus and going to see the parties and all the other good stuff there. But you know what? He said I would red shirt. So, and I didn't like that. I didn't want to be red shirted there. So a Division II team, I looked at that. It was Portland State University. The coach is the leader of of a whole lot of things was Mouse Davis. He called me on up there. He flew me down up there in Northwest, and he said, "Hey, look." I said, "Am I going to play?" He said, "We're not bringing you here 3,000 miles, to pay the fence. Okay, we'll bring you here 3,000 miles so you can play." And he was very good to me, even though my knee got hurt because I had an opportunity to play baseball with Houston and whatnot there. They honored my contract there. So, sometimes you got to take low in order to get high, okay? Am I where I'm supposed to be right now? Maybe so. But again, you got to be somewhat humble to the situation that many people, many athletes wish they was in your position. And for you to put other people in the position of where the attention all falls on you, good, bad, or ugly, and not on the team concept there, that's kind of selfish there. So we got to do a better job. And I say, again, the culture needs to be starting first in the administrative section of the business, that this is the culture that we land. If you mess up our team, we'll get you, okay? You won't be here no longer. We don't want you, no matter how much money we're paying you. If the Lions can pay off at least 26 players right now on the team, they would do so, and they would probably be a better team to bring in everybody from Pee Wee League, from college, from the Canadian Football League. The list goes on and on and on and on. Okay? But it's not going to improve until the ownership and management stop trying to mentor some of these players with these funky contracts and whatnot there that some of these players don't appreciate in the first place.
Got Nason and Dave McCaig here at the Wicked Sister on Ashmun Street in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. Butch Davis joining us online on the second half of Hour 2 of the Round Table, where we banter about the world of sports and talk about some of the topics that everyone is talking about. Let's continue, gentlemen. Dave, I'll give you first crack at my topic. Week 10 in the NFL, as we're over the halfway point for every team, except for the Giants in San Francisco's barn burner tonight at 8:15. I want your thoughts, Dave and Butch, on Week 10 as, well, I mean, it seems like New Orleans, the Rams, Kansas City, they keep on winning. They got to be the favorites right now, but it's still a long season, and anything can happen as we see each week in the NFL. Dave, I'll go to you first. Week 10, we talked about the Lions a lot. Give us your thoughts on the rest of the league.
Oh, first with Week 10, the Thursday nighter, I cannot go without saying how Big Ben and the Steelers took a thumping to the Carolina Panthers.
That's in my fantasy teams.
Yep, 143.92 points for my fantasy this week, and that's because of Big Ben and Antonio Brown themselves. So, and Boswell also did well with 12 points. So it was an exciting week that started off with the Pittsburgh Steelers having just a great start to my football week. But then when you get into the weekend, Kansas City gets the win over Arizona. You know,
not the prettiest game, but
no. And 26-14, I thought Kansas City would steamroll them even more. But David Johnson had the best game of the season so far. The Buccaneers just can't get it right. Obviously, they're losing against the Skins. Adrian Peterson. You know, I still think he didn't have well fantasy this week, but I still love seeing AP run the ball.
Old man at running back.
For sure. How about the Buffalo Bills scoring 41
everybody
points?
Saw that one coming.
I don't know who.
Josh Barkley?
Who would have thought that these guys are going to run 41 points on the Jets? You know, it's you have a surprising. I've said it all season. This season, for the entirety of it, has been a surprise. Okay, New Orleans Saints today signed Brandon Marshall too.
They need more help.
Yeah, like they got Dez, you got Marshall, you got Tom.
Well, they had Dez.
Yeah, had Dez.
Yeah.
Sorry. So with Marshall, that is a good addition for them. 6-time Pro Bowler. Sorry, people want to play there.
Does this team need more help on offense? Because
they
put up 52 at a decent Cincinnati team.
No, and I really think that New Orleans Drew Brees is playing with a boat of confidence right now. His coach, his management's giving the confidence for making the trades, bringing in guys, giving him the confidence to have the football. The defense is playing very stellar as well. I'm still a fan though of the Los Angeles Rams. I'm a big fan of Los Angeles. I think that's a very good team, offensively, defensively especially. I think just as good offensively. And Gurley's having a season that has been a better season than I've recalled for years. I'm dating back to years with LaDainian Tomlinson that had such big, powerful numbers like he has
Priest
had.
Holmes reminds me of the Chiefs
Holmes.
there. He had a bunch of touchdowns that one year.
And that's where you think of the season, the pure defining term of it is surprising weeks. Not just surprising season, surprising weeks, because each week something happens that's surprising and that catches the entertainer's eye. It's a great year for the NFL successfully with viewers. I know they're having great views and a lot of teams. We've had a lot of drama, people leaving in terms of halftime, and you have players that look at the Fitzpatrick with the Buccaneers at the beginning of the year, nice little story there, then all of a sudden they dwindle down. You have Tennessee last week as a big surprise, dismantling New England 34-10.
Yeah.
No one thought these were coming, and that's what I like about this season, because you don't know when you put on the game, it's almost hard to put for sure wins. It almost is. Cleveland Browns. You looked at that team that team is going to lose every game last year. You look at the team now, it's they're probably going to win games now.
1-3, tied 1.
I said 5. I think you were saying 5 or 6 too. Yep. So, this an exciting year around, and people that are NFL fans and sports fans in general should make sure they tune into games because each week is a surprise. And that's where my Week 10 point goes to. You can talk talk about so much with players, how good players did, but just yet another surprising week with some outcomes and some excitement.
Butch, lots there from Dave. Your thoughts on Week 10? We covered the Lions pretty well. Your thoughts on the league in general?
Yeah, let's leave the Lions alone for a little bit here.
Good.
We'll give a pass here. Matt Barkley did pretty doggone well for the Buffalo Bills in his debut there, catching up with Jim Kelly. They haven't seen nothing like that in a long time. LaShawn McCoy, he did pretty doggone well for the Bills, too, in that 41-10 victory there. Baker Mayfield, boy, oh boy, I liked his post-game attitude there, and he was cool as a cucumber, I'd say. But you know what? Cleveland is getting better there, and they're healing. Nick Chubb, 209 yards from scrimmage there. That's 176 for rushing and some goodies in passing, and he looked great. But if people right now are not talking about, they're talking about Pat Mahomes for the Chiefs there. The job that Hill is doing for that team is fantastic there. It's not 1 week to go by that Hill has not done something fantastic for the Kansas City Chiefs there. Moving right along there, you see some people that basically getting their names. Kamara, he's being consistent with rushing and receiving yards and doing great. Steve Van Bruin last night in the doggone Dallas game was fantastic there. This is a rookie. No one thought about it. And they fought. And I remember the draft when they fought to get this guy there, and they fought with the daddy and all this other stuff, and the kids won, and they got this guy in there for Dallas, and he was the savior of that particular. And Heath, by the way, here, who heard of Heath for the Dallas Cowboys, who saved that game tremendously for him there. Although it was some wicky wacky stuff at the end there, Tate doing his. I want to be seen, and got busted in the mouth. I enjoyed every minute of that one there, and the Eagles lost. I know my brother's mad, and Mike, who got his debut on the show today here. I know he's mad as I don't know what, but who cares? Trubinsky was doing very good for the Chicago Bears. And the list goes on, and we haven't talked about Roethlisberger yet. For the Steelers and how he's leading that team and how the defense is keeping itself together and staying in contention to get in the playoff battle. A lot of good things this Sunday there, and I enjoyed it tremendously. Next Sunday should be a killer deal there. We're starting off with Carolina coming into a place called Ford Field, and I can't wait to see that one.
Thanks, Butch. I can't wait to hear your response to that game indeed. Covering a little bit more on some of the things that I saw in Week 10. One of the things I do each week, I'm on ESPN Blacksburg with Paul Van Wagner on his show, The Drive, and we do our predictor picks where you can pick a team 1 week and you can't pick them the rest of the year. There are 3 games that I thought were locks, or at least I was thinking were locks, that I was debating back and forth on. Cleveland and Atlanta, I didn't pick that one because I was worried Atlanta on the road against AFC teams, terrible. I'm glad I didn't pick that one because Cleveland ended up winning that one. The other one was Buffalo and the New York Jets. Hearing that Darnold wasn't the starting quarterback for the Jets kind of shaded me away from that one. Shady McCoy, little play on words there. Like Buffalo beats the Jets 41-10. And the third one, the one I ended up picking, was Philadelphia at home taking on a Dallas team that looked like they were lost the Monday night before. They hadn't won a game on the road, and, well, guess what? I was 0 for 3 as Dallas wins that game at 27-20. I guess the couple of things that I'm looking at right now, guys, is who has more weapons right now on offense, New Orleans or Kansas City? I mean, you're looking at those two offenses right now, and both are just lining it up, and you have a very young Patrick Mahomes and a not-so-young Drew Brees just playing just some incredible football right now. And you can't count out the Rams, who have only lost 1 game. Didn't look the best yesterday against a game Seattle team, but they only have 1 loss. So those 3 teams right now with 1 loss obviously are the favorites right now as far as who would be in the Super Bowl. How good would a New Orleans-Kansas City game be in the title game? But a team that I'm really keeping my eye on that just keeps on winning, that doesn't seem like many people are talking about, the Los Angeles Chargers. 7-2. They're probably the quietest 7-2 team maybe in the history of football. Granted, they didn't have a tough game yesterday taking on a very bad Oakland team, but you look at this Chargers team, and, they just keep on winning. They're on a 5-game winning streak. 6-game winning streak. They have a couple home games coming up. They take on Denver and the Arizona Cardinals. You would expect them to win both those games. Then they have a little bit tougher schedule. They play at Pittsburgh December 2nd. That's going to be a very interesting one. And they play at Kansas City on December 13th. Now, they already lost to the Chiefs earlier this season, but this Chargers team, I'm really looking forward to see what they might do here in the latter portion of the season. They're probably going to be on the road in the playoffs in the first round, so that's not going to be helpful for them because they're in one of the best divisions in football. Looking at the division leaders right now, Washington at 6-3. Not quite sure how good they are as far as the division leaders. I would say they might be the weakest of the division leaders, them or Houston. You got the Bears taking on Minnesota next week. Those teams are playing at the top of their game. Mentioned New Orleans already, and the LA Rams in the AFC. New England at 7-3. They had all sorts of trouble against Tennessee. Pittsburgh, they've moved themselves up to first place, 6-2-1, as well as the Houston at 6-3, and an up-and-coming Tennessee team at 5-4. And so, gentlemen, the NFL, unpredictable. You never know what's going to happen week to week. Well, the Lions aren't going to win a game in the playoffs. You know that for the last 60 years. But other than that, it's a very unpredictable league, and I think we're seeing some great football and something I look forward to every Sunday, watching NFL Red Zone, going back and forth, all the games, seeing all the touchdowns. I love it. It makes pro football much better as a Lions fan when you actually see 20 or 31 other more competitive teams than the bums that you have playing once again at Ford Field.
Jesus.
Hey, I'm sorry. I'm tired of it. I gave him all this love 3 weeks ago, and I'm looking like an idiot once again. Gentlemen, we have time maybe for one more quick topic here before we get to our thumbs up and thumbs down for the week. Dave? We'll give it to you as far as anything you want to bring up, or if you want to punt it to Butch, or Butch can punt it to me. Anything else you want to talk about on the roundtable? Dave, we'll go to Butch for the first answer.
Butch, I respect you. I'm punting it to you. You know what? I was going to take one, but I'm going to let you do it, Butch.
Butch, topic on tonight's roundtable.
And I'm putting it to Scott Nason because it's Veterans Day here, man.
Very good.
Like
Thank you,
okay.
Butch. I like it. Well, gentlemen, we're into the month of November, and, the winter sports season is upon us. And, I want to look at a sport that we all love, a sport that we all know. No, I'm not going Premier League soccer. That's my thumbs up. But the world of NHL hockey
there
right
we
now.
Go.
I figured I'd tee it up high for Dave here. He hasn't been here for a full week. But, we talked about this last week a bit, and we're looking at NHL as it stands in mid-November. Butch and I talked about the Wings turning things around, climbing the standings. The Maple Leafs still up on, in the top half of the standings. So just the NHL right now, 17, 18 games in. Anything we're seeing, anything you're surprised about, or just trends in general in the NHL? Dave, I'll go to you first, and then Butch.
You had to go to the NHL. I like that. That's where I was going to go.
I figured that.
So I am happy that you went the other way. Well,
we got a lot of listeners that like hockey.
So you got the LA Kings who lose Jack Campbell today. Now they lost Quick. Now they lost Campbell. You got Peter Budaj as your goaltender. I don't know how Kari Lehtinen hasn't been signed by them yet, 34-year-old from Helsinki, Finland. Second overall pick back in 2002 by the Thrashers. I don't know why you don't give him a chance to come in and try to salvage your season based on your veterans that you have on that team. So that's one thing that I want to stick around with the news of hockey. Surprising-wise, though, it almost doesn't really change. I'm really still keen on how surprising Montreal has performed. Toronto still can't win in Boston, obviously, when it comes to playing the big bad Bruins. You have the Columbus Blue Jackets who all of a sudden jump Pittsburgh, and the Islanders go head first in the Metropolitan.
The Metropolitan.
Craig Hartsburg on last week's edition really doesn't like that name.
I don't either.
Doesn't like the name Metropolitan.
Go back
either.
to the Patrick division.
He laughed. I said that at John, so you say every
Did
time.
You like it?
You
Good.
did like that.
Good.
Western Conference, you have the Predators who are just national priority. They're taking over that Western Conference a little bit. That's a very good hockey team over there. Winnipeg, One thing that I'm surprised of, though, is still Colorado and Mikko Rantanen, how the season he is having so far.
Slumping a bit, Colorado. They win last night.
Canucks, Wayne Gretzky has said that Elias Pettersson, he sees a lot of his traits in Elias based on his skill in hockey, his speed, and his awareness. So that's a little bit of a nice little pat on the shoulder for Elias Pettersson of Vancouver and for Vancouver fans. Elias is a very special talent indeed that they have. You have Vegas, who I'm not surprised that they're struggling. I'm sorry, I know a buddy of mine's on the squad with Colin Miller and a listener of the show, so I'm sure I might get a little text with that comment, but I'll say that with Vegas, I'm not too surprised. They have a good a year as they did last year. They ended late and they had some turnaround on that team this year. They really got to try to vamp to get back up to maintain, being competitive in that Western Conference, because each game is so pivotal in the Western Conference, which is amazing. Same with the Eastern Conference. Every game is so pivotal. You lose a game, you go down 4 spots. You win a game, you're going up 4 spots, 5 spots. That's what I like about the NHL this year. Every game is just like the National Football League. It is exciting to watch. And in the NHL right now, you have teams that are close to 500, like Pittsburgh, like Washington's 1 game away from being 500. But look, they're still 3 points away from leading the division. Yeah. That's when you look at the league this year. It is just a big surprise all around. And Craig Hartsburg's, I'll say his surprise was Florida Panthers this year, how they haven't been able to build off last year and how they lost a lot of games early and it hurt them late when they had that big run. So you can't get behind this league, and that's what Toronto with Austin Matthews going down, having this William Nylander saga going on. You got to get that solidified. You got to wait for Matthews to get healthy, but you got to get something back in that lineup with Toronto, if it's a defenseman or an Nylander. And just around the NHL in general, as I said, very surprising. Lots of good stuff to talk about. And a lot of rumors going around with Nylander's making the league very exciting. Those Red Wings, I'll give credit where credit's due. They don't know how to rebuild, I don't think. It definitely seems that way. I know a lot of Red Wing fans don't like that term, rebuild. But I think when you look at the teams above you, you should consider it, especially with Stevie Y coming your way next year.
Possibly.
Well, I'm saying it's happening.
All right.
I'm going to go guarantee on this. And I'll say Joel Quenneville's your coach next year, too. How about that?
Wow.
Sorry, Jeff Blashill.
Wow.
But besides the point, you got this league. It's anything can happen in a matter of a week, and things are just changing week by week. But I'm keeping my refresher on William Nylander because the Leafs have to December 1st to make a decision here.
I'm liking what I'm seeing in the NHL as well. Butch, we'll go to you. NHL in general. Dave's thoughts and your own.
I say, who wants to walk with Elias there?
I was just thinking that when he said that. Walk with Elias, a little wrestling term.
Oh, okay.
Butch, we're on the same wavelength. Continue.
Okay. But you know what? No one's talking about the Jets a lot here this year. This year there, and they're doing nothing but doing Wheeler. He had a goal and 4 assists in the game over the Avs. The Avs are a really good doggone team this year here, but the Jets say, "Hey, look at us here. We're not going anywhere here," and majorly so. No one's talking about them, but again, they're still doing the things that they were doing last year. That's just grinding out wins here. No one's talked about today the NHL players who reached that concussion case there that somewhat is a bozo kind of thing here, mainly because it's not going to get settled before the end of the year, per se. There's going to be a whole heck of a lot of disagreements, so I think that case is still going to be ongoing, regardless of if they say they have a tentative contract agreement there. So I kind of watch out for that. And I look at the sincerity of the National Hockey League in general there, especially when Vegas's Matt Pacioretty went to Montreal this past and got one of the nicest greetings you ever wanted to see. And then after that, they beat the guy's brains out there. And of course, he did pretty good in the game as well there. So National Hockey League right now is living up to its respectability of being the surprise league of all the major sports there when it comes down to hard-hitting news that basically has not been settled up yet, or basically the wait-and-see kind of guy. Because, again, we spoke of Florida, and I thought Florida would be the cat's meow in that particular division, and they haven't done what I thought they would do. Of course, Tampa Bay is still doing what they've been doing for years, regardless of Steve Eisman stepping down. And I'm very curious to see how this season is going to go in January when we're taking a look at this again and finding out where all these particular teams are going to stand at, because we know right now the position that the teams are standing right now, they're not going to be the same way as of January the 1st there. But again, things are going to be rocking and rolling there. You look at the West Coast and Phoenix. Who would have thought? They're not as bad as they have been in the past, and we're not talking about them either here. So there's a lot to be talked about throughout the next, weeks and months of National Hockey League experience there. I'm just very curious to find out where everybody's going to be sitting the first of the year.
Yeah, Butch, I'll talk a little more on some of the things you guys touched on. And again, the standings traditionally bunched up at this time of the year. You look at the top three in each division. Don't think anybody's surprised in the Atlantic. Tampa, Toronto, Boston, 1, 2, 3. I think Montreal is overachieving a bit, and I agree. I didn't expect Florida to be on the bottom of the Atlantic, although they are above 500 now. They've played 3 less games than a lot of teams, so they could climb the standings a bit. In the Metropolitan Division, top 3, Columbus, Philadelphia. I think a lot of people had those two. Still love that Philly mascot, by the way. What the heck is that thing? Oh,
Gritty. It's a gritty guy like Philly.
But again, you look at all these teams, 1 through 7 separated by 3 points. So, you got Islanders 3, Rangers have moved up a bit after a slow start. Pittsburgh, Washington, Carolina. Again, all those teams pretty close. I think some of the surprises to me are in the West. I'm not surprised that Nashville's in first. I'm surprised how they've started the season looking pretty dominant at 13-3. The 2 teams I'm watching in the West, Minnesota. Loving this Minnesota Wild team. This is a team that needs to make a playoff push at some point.
Yeah,
they've been in the playoffs a lot, and they just cannot get through it, seems to. Maybe this is the year, but boy, they're in a tough division, much like Winnipeg found out. Winnipeg at 3, still doing what they do. Did anybody have Chicago in 7th place in the Central Division, even at this stage? I don't think so. So obviously that division has a bunch of powerhouses. Then you have, again, another division in the Pacific. Did anybody have Vancouver in first place?
Nope.
I thought that Vancouver might be, but you look at Vancouver, Calgary 1, 2, Arizona 4. You have Vegas and Los Angeles 7 and 8. So I like what Butch said there. It's good to see it now, but really come the first of the year, then things start to take a little more shape. You have your haves, you have your have-nots, and you have a bunch of teams in the middle that are chasing points, chasing playoff positions. And we talked about it last week as far as, the playoffs. Keep it as it is in the NHL. It works well. There's a lot of teams that are in contention, even into April, that maybe wouldn't be in contention if the system would, don't make more teams. You have 16. It works. It's perfect. Leave it as it is.
Yes, the playoff thing, you can't expect. It's already the hardest trophy to win in sports. You can't make it any more hard. It doesn't need to be. It's already grueling. It's already exhausting. I got friends that play in there, and they say if you make it that far to make the Stanley Cup Finals, you don't even have a month and a half, 2 months off.
Yeah.
So
you're back at it.
Yeah, you have a longer playoff. It's just absolutely ridiculous. Add a team or two if you want. Make it more challenging to make the playoffs if you want, but don't change no format. That's BS.
Gentlemen, let's get to our thumbs up and thumbs down for the week. Dave, we will go to you first. Who are your thumbs up? Who are your thumbs down?
Oh, I think I'd be foolish not to go to the route of thumbs up being with the Pittsburgh Steelers with a very impressive performance on Thursday. Definitely fantastic.
Did you say fantastic?
Did I say fantastic?
I think so.
Oh, it's like
I thought that was a little play on words there. Yeah, the whole Vancouver thing. Yeah,
okay. I didn't even think of that, to be honest, Scott. That's your mind being more creative than mine. I'm going to go with the thumbs up as well to Pascal Siakam with the Toronto Raptors. I think I might have pronounced his last name incorrectly. I'm great at butching.
Oh, wow.
There we go. Last names. I'm sure I'll get corrected now by Butch with it.
Give him a minute.
Player of the week with the Eastern Conference. I think actually maybe player of the month. Week. Yeah, it is player of the week. So the Raptors being dominant, loving it. Thumbs down. Des Bryant, I got to go there, get injured in his first game with New Orleans.
One practice?
Yeah, practice. First I saying game. How about thumbs down for me saying not the right thing at the start there. But getting hurt, that's bad. It's very unfortunate. And then I want to go the thumbs down to the Leafs in Boston. I feel like they outshot, could capitalize on chances, but they not getting the win in Boston's an unfortunate loss. You want to keep trying to climb up there and get ahead and pull away in the division. And I just still think after that first period, the Leafs are flat-footed, and I didn't like the performance on Saturday.
Butch, let's get to your thumbs up and thumbs down for the week, sir.
I like the player for the thumbs up for for the win, the Titans win there. And the player that I have in mind is, we can't mention the statement on the air because we're a clean show, boys and girls. But, boy, I love it when someone trades someone there and they want to stay there, but you trade them and get rid of them, and they come back and whip your rear end.
Yep.
And I love the statement there. Thumbs up for that. Thumbs down go to, and I won't mention the organization. We just got news about it, of this pizza place there that told Lynn Barney and his wife to go somewhere else and buy your pizza there. I thought that was very bad. I thought it was bad when they only offered breadsticks for Veterans Day and whatnot there, instead of a great hearty meal and whatnot there. As many veterans that are homeless and whatnot, giving them some breadsticks it's kind of chinchy to me. But there's something there. But again, the way they treated Lynn Barney, who is suing this particular individual place for bad treatment and whatever it may be. I'll stay on top of that particular one there, but the way that happened on Veterans Day, and also for a well-known person like Lynn Barney, who is a class act everywhere down the line, and he be treated, saying that the place was not open. It was only open for catering, but when they showed the sign, they said, we're open, okay? Come on. It sucks.
Butch will try to invite Mr. Barney up to the Wicked Sister maybe for next Veterans Day because they're giving free meals here.
All right, yeah.
I'll get to my thumbs up and thumbs down. Thumbs up to two local football teams on both sides of the border. Thumbs up to the Pickford Panthers after their semifinal win on Saturday at the Purple Palace on the frozen tundra of the Purple Palace. They advance to the state finals where they will take on Morris Saturday at 11 a.m. and to the Korah Colts in Sault, Ontario, winning the NOSSA Championships. I got your back. I got your back as they advance, and they'll play in Ottawa later on this month. And thumbs down to the Detroit Lions. Again, another season just like the last ones and the last ones and the last ones. It's getting old. It's getting tired. But until fans stop going to games, it won't matter what happens because the more things change in Detroit, at least with the Lions, the more they stay the same. Dave, let's get to your week before we get to Butch and wrap this up. I know you got a busy schedule on the Game Sports Show from Sault, Ontario. Give us a preview of what you have in store this week.
Wednesday, we'll be at Sports Center Bar and Grill. Myself, Jamie, Dustin, Matt, and Justin. Hopefully, we got the full panel.
A cast of thousands.
We got that at 9 o'clock at Sports Center Bar and Grill. We'll be talking football, basketball, and a variety of sports. Hopefully, we have time to discuss all that in the hour-and-a-half segment that we have. That'll be Wednesday, and on Thursday, we will be at Northern Superior Brewing Company. Myself, Justin, and Dane confirmed. Brad, we're hoping he can come by as well. Guests are still to be determined. We're still figuring that out. Hopefully, we have an announcement for that on Wednesday. We'll be at Northern Superior Brewing Company by 6 o'clock. We're going to be. This is the early week.
The early edition. The early bird special.
The early edition. Now, the reason being it might be early, I want you to pay attention to the Wednesday show because it might be moved Thursday to Icebreakers.
Wow.
Thursday because Icebreakers is supposed to launch Thursday, and the Thunderbirds do play Blind River on Thursday.
Okay.
So it's Trevor Zachary, GM of the Birds and representative of Northern Superior Brewing Company, have it arranged where we'll have the show at Icebreakers if it is open at 7:15, which will be the regular time. So make sure you keep your ears open and keep your eyes open on the Podbean page, Facebook page, and Instagram page, and all our other pages in terms of what time and where the show will be on Thursday. But that's what we'll have this week.
Again, you can find those shows at thegamesportshow.com. Dave, thanks for making the trek over. Looks like a little better weather driving home, and we'll talk to you on our next edition of the game here at the Wicked Sister.
It's been great, Butch. Thank you very much, my friend. And Scotty, happy Veterans Day. I think that's what it's deserved to be said here. We don't say Happy Remembrance Day to everybody a lot over Canada, but apparently in the States, Veterans Day is a pretty big deal. It is pretty big. It's still big, Canada.
I appreciate that, Dave.
Thank you, Scotty.
And Butch, health-wise, I'm hoping for a better week for you, sir. What's in store for you?
Oh, health-wise. I'm saying next year we got to make a drive to bring Poppies back to Veterans Day here. Well, how many times you see them? Now, the BBC sent me a beautiful set of poppies there from London, England there, and I got them straight on my table there. But we don't deal with poppies anymore here. I think CBC had all their people dressed up in poppies and stuff there, but we got to do a better job in the United States getting them poppies back on us here, Scott. You know what?
Butch, I got one when I went to the Hounds game there last week.
Way to go here for the Hounds. Yeah. Woof, woof. Final week of volleyball for the girls there. Lower Peninsula girls swimming and diving, okay? The prelims and the finals are Friday and Saturday in the finals. For the 8-player football playoff, Scott Nason will be in attendance for that particular one in the Dome. And, of course, this weekend is the semifinal for the 11-player football playoffs. Who's going to go to Ford Field as of next Saturday and Sunday there. No, Friday and Saturday. I'm sorry. I'm just getting over enthusiastic there. Plus, we'll find out what the Lions do this upcoming Sunday when they meet the Carolina Panthers right now, who are licking their chops here. Probably got a little campground right downtown Detroit ready to just come on in here and swallow it up here. I don't know.
Butch, thanks for joining us. Again, glad to have you back and your health better. We'll talk to you on our next edition of the game.
Okay.
All right, that's going to do it here from the Wicked Sister on this Monday night. Want to thank all our guests, Matt Johnson, along with Dave Paitson, Dave McCaig, Butch Davis, and our broadcast engineer, Trent Raymond. We'll talk to you next time on an edition of the game here on Eagle 95.1.